Have you ever wondered why we glorify pirates as we do? After all, they were thieves and murderers, but maybe not all of them. See, I've got an author I want you to meet who's written a book of historical fiction during the golden age of piracy along the shores of Jamaica, telling a different tale. A tale of swashbuckling, romance, and the realities of piracy, plunder, and plantation life in the 1720s. Stick around because you'll not only learn more about this book, you'll learn about the writing journey this author took to create it.
Welcome to A Book Finds You podcast. This week's guest is Diana McDonough. Join us as she shares the inspiration behind her book, along with her writing process, routines, and challenges. And now here's your host, best-selling author, Rob Jolles.
Today's guest, Diana McDonough, is the author of 3 novels in the Stuck in the Onesies series. Her latest work, Pirates in the Plantations in Jamaica, the story of Ginger Star, is historical fiction and a prequel to the first 2 books in the series. Ginger Star is a dive into piracy and plantation life, dealing with slavery and the repercussions of deception. Book clubs from Florida to Canada have featured all 3 books, and Diana attends in person or via Zoom when her schedule permits. Happy to have you with us, and welcome to the show, Diana.
Thank you, Rob. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Pleasure to have you. Let's dive right in. And I always start with, have you heard the show? And Diana said yes, which means you know the questions that's coming, the first one at least, which is not how you found the book, how it found you.
Well, this particular book found me in a hammock in Jamaica. Jamaica is one of my favorite places. I started doing mission work and vacationing down there in 1995. And always wanted to write my whole life, but, life gets in the way, bills, raising children, the whole 9 yards. So had to wait until the time was right. So I was taking notes. And then as time went on, I started the book, but then I put it aside to start Stuck in the Onesies, which was creative nonfiction based on a true story about my mother and a friend of hers raising kids back in the 60s in Washington, D.C., when things were so radical and first all the social issues jumping to the surface. And the 2 women were stay-at-home housewives trying to make a living for themselves, creating their own ways of making different things and dragging us kids into it. So it was a hodgepodge of a lot of things, kind of like living with Lucy and Ethel, getting involved with their schemes. But anyway, long story short, I wrote that book. They wanted a sequel to that, which was My Mother's Apprentice, which is me. And then I went back to Ginger Star, and I managed to create it or make it into a prequel to the series because it deals with Jamaica. And they tell you to write what you know, and that's what I know. So that's where I went.
Well, that write what you know is a very short and effective recommendation to many authors. I wish they would do that. I sometimes people will come up to me and say, I've always wanted to write a book and I've dreamt of it. And I say, well, that's great. What are you going to write about? And they go, that I don't know yet. And, so it usually starts there. I mean, there's a pull, there's a tug of some sort. And we can certainly hear through those first 2 books, how it sort of set up the one that you've just written. Was there a part of the book, because this was sort of a departure for you, you went into this historical fiction area, but was there a part of the book that surprised you as you were writing it?
Oh, there was a lot that surprised me. I've heard authors talk about the characters took on a life of their own. The first 2 books had an outline for it because they were based on real life. This book was not. And I started out with one protagonist and ended up with another. And it just took on a life of its own. It incorporated a lot of things that many people don't know about. The Maroons in Jamaica, which are a tribe of escaped slaves and Taino Indians back in the day that fought the British, and the British could never win, could never beat them. So I just found that to be a fascinating story, and I found a way to weave that into what I was writing. I learned a lot along the way, and then I also discovered a couple of pirates that were captured right there on the north coast of Jamaica where my story was set. So that kind of took its own life on. And Those two pirates were Calico Jack Rackham and Anne Bonny. And Anne Bonny, they were both convicted of piracy. Jack was hung, and Anne Bonny was, they don't really know what happened to her. Her and Mary Read were pregnant, and they wouldn't hang them. So Mary Read died in prison, but Anne Bonny's fate is unknown. So I was able to take license with that. And it really made for a good, interesting story.
Yeah, that is interesting. Look, I think we throw the hero word around too much. So I'm sorry to say you're not my hero, but I sure do. I sure do appreciate what you're doing because I'm a nonfiction writer, and that's all well and good. But when I hear somebody go from the nonfiction side, I know just what you're talking about. The outline. This is we kind of follow this path. Might have even taught this program a few times, and then all of a sudden we step into the fictional side. I'm smiling on this side because I know if I started doing that, characters would be moving all over the place. I can't sketch it out the way I normally do.
Right. And I have a hard time with outlining. I decided, okay, this time I'm going to outline it because this is historical fiction. You need to. So I did, but I quickly departed from that. And I'm finding more of a pantser than an outliner, but that's just who I am.
Yeah.
I tend to go off in different directions, have several projects going at once sometimes, and then I hone myself back in and refocus. But Ginger Star just really is exciting to me because it is my own story that I created. And that's what I found so fascinating is that these characters did take on a life of their own and went in directions I couldn't imagine. I'm going through that now with the sequel to Plantations and Pirates.
Well, and that begs the question, how do you know when an idea is worth pursuing? Again, I've already put my nonfictions up the flagpole plenty of times. I know what's working.
Right.
How do you know?
Well, you really don't, other than your gut and what it is you want to tell, the story you want to tell. And that's what I consider myself a writer and an author, but I guess I'm more of a storyteller than anything. I think I really enjoy weaving and creating those scenarios, taking real life and turning it into something on a page and seeing how a character handles it.
Do you begin
So
with the end in mind when you do this? Not
I
that it
do.
doesn't change.
I do. But I just to give you an example, the one I'm working on now, I think it changed today, as a matter of fact. They live in your head and you're like, I don't know if I really want to go that direction now. So that's the beauty of it. That's the fun part of it is it takes on and goes in a different path. And it's exciting to see where it does end up.
Yeah. All right, let's dive into your daily routine a little bit. Assuming you've got one, and some people, every day they're waiting to feel it. I can't wait that way. I'll never feel like this is the day. So I'm more like working out. You just go to the gym, you work out on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, or whatever your schedule is. Do you have a daily routine that you follow?
I do when I'm in the groove, so to speak, and life hasn't taken over. I mean, I've got a large family, so I travel a good bit. So those things do tend to take over. But when things are truly about writing, I get up and I write at least 4 hours a day, usually in the morning, because that's my best time. So I try to do the writing part for 4 hours, and then I'll do marketing or whatever else strikes me as the day goes on. Depends on how much of a caffeine fix I have in the afternoon. I might even go longer.
Right.
But yeah.
Well, I like the fact that you even though it sounds a little bit shakier, you're trying to put some time aside for marketing.
Right.
Let's sneak over there just for a second.
Oh boy.
You know, maybe grab a sip of coffee before we do. But because that's a part that many authors fall asleep on, and they work so hard at getting their book out, and then they're just don't want to put up with the marketing side. I don't know many people who love the marketing, but it's a part of being an author. So, what are some of the things that you would do if on a day where you're saying, I got my 4 hours of writing in. Now I'm going to put 1 hour of marketing in, but it's going to be a good hour.
Right. And that's tough to do. It's tough to decide what is going to make the most impact. I was in sales for 26 years with Ecolab. I sold chemicals, the legal kind. And then, so I kept telling myself while I was doing that I took 10 years to write my first novel while I was still working. So I kept telling myself, well, this sales experience will come in handy. So when I became, quote, an author and retired from Ecolab, I put the book out there and quickly found that it was a whole different animal than selling chemicals door to door. However, the experience did help because you get used to being told no. So that's nothing, it's like water off a duck's back sometimes, because sales is learning to take no for an answer and then pushing forward anyway. So what I'll do is, a lot of my audience is on Facebook, a lot of baby boomers, because of the age and the timing of those books. And so I'll spend some time on there. I'll do some email marketing. I'm big on book clubs. When I first came into the author business, I thought, well, heck, I'll just get up with book clubs and everybody will want to do my book. Well, I quickly found out it wasn't as easy as all that. You have to know somebody in the club, get invited. So it's a process. But I did found it was a worthwhile process for me, because one book club often turns into 2 or 3 more and gives you a lot of longevity with these people. It creates a nice reader base. You collect the emails, you do book signings, and that's something that I try to do when I'm doing book signings, is always get emails to build that email base so I can do a newsletter and all of that. I'm not as good at keeping up with all that as I should be, but I try to get in there and do that several times a year too. So yeah, and Instagram is something I've had to dip my toe into, and Twitter and all of that. But and I've just joined Substack. I'm trying to learn the methodology of that, and it's kind of like Facebook for authors, but I'll take it.
Yeah, because I'm a nonfiction guy and I can live on LinkedIn where I do.
Right.
And,
I'm in there too.
and I'm happy there. I know it works.
Mhm.
I'm very active there, but I'm not so active in the others. And I'm not the social media expert, but I will tell you, I've interviewed a few on my show, and most of them will say, find one that you truly, that doesn't, I'm putting my own words in there, but it doesn't nauseate you, okay? That you can do every day. And if it's because some people are going, I hate Twitter, I don't like, then don't do Twitter. Don't have to. But what are you going to substitute it with? Because you need to get your voice out there.
You do. I have tried some things like giveaways and such like that, Facebook targeted ads. Didn't have a whole lot of luck with that. So I decided not to spend a whole lot of time there. But what doesn't work for me might work for someone else. Right now I'm thinking about doing the little video, I don't know what they call it on Facebook, where you have the ads behind you, or the pictures and all of that behind you. I just did a trip to Jamaica and took some pictures of things I'd like to feature in the next book. So I'm going to try and work something out like that. I also am considering perhaps hiring a publicist. It's something that I've kind of tapped around and tried different ways, but I think I need to find the right person, the right fit that is familiar with the author platform and knows how to move forward with that. So maybe you can help me with that.
I actually can help you with that. We'll take that one offline. I'll give you a couple of names. Get your checkbook ready.
I know, right?
Yeah, they're not inexpensive, and you kind of get what you pay for. But I have a big sales background myself. That's where most of my books are, and that's what I deliver: seminars, workshops, etc. So definitely know the sales world. And I do think that you're one of the first authors I've had, and we've had about 35 or 40, that actually brought up networking and marketing before I brought it up. So it's definitely, your sales background's really helping. So I'm going to throw an idea at you, and you'll be the first to do it, because I can't convince anybody to do it. But I've always encouraged authors, and I got this from helping people who are in career transition, to put a little button on. Make a button that says, ask me about my book. So when you're at the CVS line or the Safeway line, whatever, when people see that, they will go, well, what your book? Networking is, I think, the magic formula for marketing. But now we know the word. What are we doing exactly in network? Want to get in it? You threw it out there. You want to get into a readers group? You got a network. You want to get into, what do you think the publicist is going to do? They are paid for hire because they have a network that they worked really hard to create and to hold on to. So, last time I looked, the Today Show wouldn't take my phone call. But they'll take the phone call of this person who's known them for 20 years. And so it is a networking world. I do think that we have to stop hiding the fact that we're authors and throw ourselves into as many networking opportunities as possible. And you did it today by coming on the podcast. This is, in a minor way, it checks a couple boxes on marketing, but it really does potentially extend your network a little bit. And that's what we want to do. So I applaud it. Keep going, but don't lose sight of the networking.
I
Very
know,
important.
and I think you've pointed it out on other shows too, is that we authors don't want to do that. It's not our comfort zone. That's why we sit behind a computer and type all day
That's
and talk
right.
to ourselves and talk to our characters. But so it is something. And even when I was in sales for 26 years, I had to push myself. There were
Right.
times I'd be sitting in the car getting ready to go up and see a potential customer, and I'd be like, "What am I going to talk to them about today?" So that's you kind of have to have your stick ready
Yeah.
because and the hardest thing I have found as an author after writing 140,000 words for Plantations and Pirates is
Oof, it's
figuring
big.
out yeah, it's a big one. Networking is not something I enjoy. I have to push myself out there to do it. I enjoy going to a critique group, and I'm also looking to join another one of those. I did a critique group when I wrote My Mother's Apprentice, and it was very invaluable because it kept me on task. It kept me, I knew I had to have something ready every month to critique for other people and them to do for me. So that was a big help for me. And so I'm looking to find another one that suits my genre. Historical fiction is my love. John Jakes was my hero, and I read everything he wrote just about, and Mishner and all those guys. So it just fascinates me that you can weave a story into history and
Yeah.
help people to learn a little bit at the same time. But the critique group is invaluable, so I encourage people to seek one out. And these days with Zoom, it makes it so much easier. You don't have to be local to get it done. So that's what I'm working on right now. Also, I found for marketing that contests seem to be a good avenue. Pirates and Plantation just won an award down in Florida at the Florida Authors and Publishers Association, and that the place will be noted on in August. So I'll find out about that. But I've entered a few others as well to just try and get some visibility out there and get the story out there because I think it's worthwhile and I think people will enjoy it.
Absolutely. Well, you've got to, you come from the world of sales, so you already know. If you don't believe in what you're selling, you're not going to last a whole long
Absolutely.
time.
And if you
Yeah.
know your product, that's half the battle. That's what I tell people that get nervous doing presentations. Don't be nervous. You know what you're talking about. This
Right.
is what you do. It's what you've written. There's nothing to be scared of.
Right.
So, and I know what I was going to say earlier when I lost the train. Writing that little synopsis, that 1 page or 2 paragraph description of your book is the hardest thing that I've had to do out of all the writing that I've done, is to find a way to encapsulate it like that and find that hook that they're going to read and want to get into the book.
Oh
So
yeah.
that's a challenge for me.
Yeah. I'm practically cross-eyed on this side from writing hooks.
Yeah.
Hooks are easy for nonfiction writers, much more challenging for fiction writers and poets. So
Yes.
that's one lesson I've learned from A Book Finds You. I could
Yes.
write a
Indeed.
nonfiction hook in my sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. But condensing that book into 2 little lines or paragraphs is really a struggle. Very hard to
All right,
do.
so let me ask you this: if I go online right now, am I going to find a website for you?
Oh yeah,
Good.
absolutely.
And on
Diane.
that website, am I going to find something that's gathering information? In other words, how are you going to capture my email address if I give you permission? But is there a way to capture it?
Sure, sure. You
Good.
go to dianamcdonough.com. That's McDonough. Go to the contact me page.
Yep.
And there's also buttons on there where you can go to Amazon and buy my books as well.
Good. The sales side of Diane, getting
That's
that
right.
in there. I'm gonna get it in there anyway. But good. I like. I wish authors wouldn't wait for me to ask. Truly, you're on the show. Yeah, let's get there and let's get the book and let's get some reviews on it. Uh, do you have a? Are you using any type of? We're just this is a marketing conversation, folks. So stay with us here. There's a reason. Okay, so we know that if you want to be in this game, you need a website. Don't tell me you're going to be working on one. But that website has to be, there has to be something in it for that audience to want to go there. And
Yes.
so do you use anything like lead magnets or anything like that to entice me to want to sign up to follow you in your newsletters or whatever, blogs, whatever?
I
Anything to
I
entice me?
never have. I know what you're talking about. I've heard you
Mhm.
mention it before, but no,
Mhm.
I've never done that just because I'm too lazy to figure out how, to tell you the truth. But I do have a blog. So when I do a blog, people, I get an email blast goes out, let them know about the blog. And
Good.
try to give them something for their money, even if it's just a little story or whatever, a little
Well,
piece of meat.
that's it. I mean, I'm always trying to find something that they can't get on Amazon from me. So sometimes it's a chapter that I decide not to put in the book, or
Mhm.
anybody want to see what it looks like, a first draft looks like. But things like that, people who are following you will appreciate that.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's I'm exploring. So if you've been listening, you know that I haven't got it, not done yet, but I'm almost done working on this lead magnet. But when you do these things right, I'm working on I think 9 different emails in sequence, not too fast, not too slow. That slowly makes that person a true follower. And there's a science to it, and so, but all part of marketing.
Yeah, there is. Yeah,
Yeah.
there is.
Uh, do you ever get writer's block?
Yeah.
How do
Matter
you
of
deal
fact,
with it?
I just got over it. It took me a while.
Took
I
2
think it's
aspirin, you feel better now?
no, not really. But I think, I'd done a lot of traveling, had a lot of family events, this and that, things that distract you.
Right.
So when I'm trying to sleep at night and I can't, I'll go into my book in my head. But I finally, about a week ago, it finally kind of just pushed through it. I just sat down and let myself get up, kind of wrestled with the page a while. But since then, like I said, these guys are starting to take on a life of their own and changing the ending on me. I thought I wanted to end up in a certain place, certain geographical place, but I don't think it's going to happen. But if it doesn't, I don't know what I'm going to do either. So we'll
Are
see.
are these guys your editors, or are these guys your characters that are demanding this end?
Oh no, they're not my editors.
They're your characters.
They're my characters. Yep. Yeah, they set me straight this morning. But yeah, it's dealing a lot with slavery and plantations. It's a difficult thing to deal with. I know when I was writing Plantations, aka Ginger Star,
Yeah.
I was almost done. It was 2020, and we all got put in lockdown. And I was going to go on another research trip to Jamaica in May of that year. Well, we all know why that didn't happen. So I'm stuck at home, and I'm thinking, I've been to Jamaica enough. I can just wrap this up. I know where this is going. So I pretty much had wrapped it up. And then George Floyd was murdered, and it was just like the veil came off, and I was looking at everything, and I'm like, you know what? I have not dealt with the plantation issue enough, with the slavery issue enough in this book. It's not what it needs to be after I spent some time really delving into what happened to him and what was going on all over the country. And so I went back in, and I had to make some of my characters not so nice, a little more nefarious than they used to be. But at the same time, they struggle with what it is they're doing. And I found it so difficult to wrap my head around the fact that Christianity sanctioned slavery. And it just amazed me. And so to get into these people's heads and hearts and ways of life was really something, from both the slave's angle and the slave owner's angle.
You know what it concerns me about what you said, so help me through this, is I'm always concerned if I go back and start changing things, I just have to ask myself, am I doing this because I've looked at this so many times that it's not as exciting to me anymore? Uh, and I'm sort of like chasing a new shiny penny in the corner. Or is this
Mhm.
legitimately lacking here? Because as a professional speaker, I'm always careful not to change a whole lot because I'm getting tired of it. If they put the same audience in front of me, I'm going to change it. If
Yeah.
it's a new audience, it may not have a lot of pizzazz to me, but it does to the audience. I'm going with it. So how do you
Mhm.
know?
Well, that's difficult. First of all, you have to have a good editor or someone
Mm,
good to read it, to tell you where you have messed up, where he's standing over here and he's sitting over here, and little things like that. Um, I published Ginger Star back in like the end of 22. And then about 6 months later, I met another editor that was an expert in the genre, and I had some point of view issues in the book. So I spent another year re-editing that book with her. Some money and a whole lot of time. But I tell you what, it was like a master's class. I never went to school for writing. Like I said, I was raising the kids and paying the bills. But back in the day, when I was writing Stuck in the Onesies for 10 years while I was still working, I tried taking courses and stuff at the local colleges, but I traveled in my job. I couldn't make it work. So it was back before really the internet was really strong. And I did in the mail correspondence courses. And I would do these courses at home, send them off, and I'd live for that manila envelope to show up again and to tell me what to work on and that type of thing. So I learned a lot that way. But then, and I think as with any editor that you work with, you learn something from them every time. But this woman, Cindy Valor, that I found just really set me on the right path to get this book polished up and do what I wanted it to do. And I remember hearing, how we hear all these authors on TV with the Oprah Book Club and the Jenna Book Club and all this. And we're all jealous. We're all like going, why isn't that me? And I was listening to this one woman talk about her book. And she said, this book's been out for 10 years. How come all of a sudden it took off and became a bestseller? And she said, she stopped, she thought for a second. She said, because I had it edited one more time. And I was like, no kidding. So, and I put that in the back of my mind, and it was over a year before I did that re-edit, but I found the right person that taught me a lot and showed me a lot and knew my genre a lot better than I did.
Yeah, well, that's a great story. I learned a similar lesson in a very small way. I was whining about my LinkedIn followers. I'm putting out good stuff here and I'm getting 8 likes and 5 comments. Now, come on. And then all of a sudden, I wrote something I thought, well, this is a really good one. And, 5,000 views and 200 likes and 150 comments. And this is not boasting. Most of my stuff doesn't do that. But what it reminds you and it sort of sobers you up of, it's really not your audience. You got to stop blaming the audience. Put something out there, that makes them go, wow. That's, some people ask me, what's the difference between being a good speaker and a professional speaker? And a good speaker gets 10s on their feedback forms. And a great speaker gets people saying, that was so good. I need to bring that to this building. I need to tell my friend. I mean, it's just a different level of wow. Right. So, I'm so glad you told that story, because I think a lot of times we sort of get into a pity party of it's our audience's fault.
Yeah, right.
It's super convenient, but it's not the audience's fault.
Yeah, well, it's Facebook's fault because that ad didn't work.
Exactly.
That giveaway didn't work.
Yeah. What also amazes me is how long you spend editing. That's unusual. I'm usually trying to crowbar people out of the editing phase because they can be there for decades. And, it's eventually done as perfect. I mean, eventually we got to make it, we got to get it out there. So it's kind of weird. I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth right now, but I think when it's right.
Right. Well, and I have a beta reader right now, and she's a former English teacher. I sent her the first 3 chapters of my new novel. And I said, I'm not looking for typos or any of that grammatical errors. I said, I just want to know, A, do you like it? B, does it flow right? Is there something wrong in the sequencing? Yeah. So that I know that I'm on the right track there. Yeah. And then that'll help propel me into some more, and I'll get her some more going.
All right. I could talk to you all day. Let's bring you in with one final question. Let's see. Let's make it a personal reflections kind of question. What advice would you have for somebody who's listening right now, thinking about writing a book? They've got the dream. I'm going to help them out. They actually know what they want to write about, because that one always annoys me. They don't just want to be an author. They got that burn. They know what that topic is, and yet they're still thinking about it. They're in that thinking about it stage. What would you tell them?
Well, I can remember the day when I decided, okay, I'm going to sit down and write a book. It was a Saturday while I'm working, and it was historical fiction. And I was going to start writing, and I typed a little bit of, I'm going to have to research this. I'm still working. I don't have time to do that. So I shelved it. And then the Stuck in the Onesie story, somebody said one day, somebody needs to write a book about that. I mean, these were just 2 ordinary housewives, but they lived extraordinary lives in a very unusual time period in Washington, D.C. and on the Eastern Shore. So I decided to write what I know, which is what they'll tell you at all the writers' conferences and everything, write what you know. So I started out with something that wasn't going to take a whole lot of research. I mean, I had a blast researching Jackie Kennedy because she's in the book, all kinds of things like that, but it was more doable. So I would say just sit down and just start writing, even if it's not good, because that first draft's not going to be good. But just sit down and start writing, and you'll start to get in the flow. Join a writer's group. You'll learn a lot from other people, and get in a critique group when you're ready for it, when your ego can take it, because sometimes it's not fun, but it's necessary. So
Right.
just, network with some people of like mind and sit down and start.
Yeah, maybe put that jollis button on we're talking about.
You're right.
Well, because isn't it funny that it's instinct versus logic? Instinct tells us that if I'm working on a book or thinking of a book, I don't want to tell anybody about it because
Right.
then I'm going to have to write it. Then I'm going to go to the family reunion. They're going to say, "How's that book coming along?" But logic states the complete opposite, which is if you actually really want to write the book, let people know about it.
That's true.
Because
Well,
you just,
you
yeah,
mentioned button. One of the writers associations I belonged to had a sticker that you put on the back of your computer on your laptop. Ask me about my book.
well, there you go.
Where you're sitting in an airport and people are like, "What's that about?" I gave away a lot of business cards that way.
Yeah.
Just that little piece of information. You put it out there.
Well, you've helped me because I've been sitting on the button idea for about 10 years, but I think maybe
Yes.
that's what I was going wrong. Forget the button and go with the back of the laptop.
That's
But
right.
if we don't go with the back of the laptop, folks, an accountability partner of some sort, that's what we're talking about. It's probably one of the most important steps because, as you've said, and most authors will tell you, one word follows another, and one sentence follows another, and one paragraph, and one page, and one chapter. Uh, as my dad, may rest in peace, used to always say, that old school, see that guy over there, he puts his pants on the same way you do, one leg at a time.
That's
And
right.
that's his version of saying that author over there is no different than you. They put their pants on one leg at a time. They just ground out that manuscript. At the end of the day, it's like a shovel in a hole. There it is. I'll show you how to hold a shovel. You got to dig the hole.
Yes, you do. And I remember when I first published onesies, and you visit a bookstore, blah blah blah, and they want to know what else you've written. And I was like, "What do you mean? I already wrote one." So then you realize one's not enough.
No.
So you just keep plugging away,
Yeah.
and
Somebody told me once when you write a book, you become an author. And when you write more than one book, you become a writer.
oh,
Yeah, I don't know who said it, and I don't know how true got there, but and so yeah. I always thought I got to keep it moving. Um,
yeah, you do.
yeah, I was going to finish, but I'm dying to ask you one last question about the blog because I think that's a good workout for a writer when we're in between books or we just need to keep that flow going in our brain. How often do you put out a blog?
Not as often as I should. I've got many more in my computer than I have posted on my website. I often tell people, sign up for my website. I won't inundate you, which I don't because I'm too lazy.
Right,
But it is a good exercise. And I started out really writing essays, more personal stuff for myself and
right.
sending it out to family and stuff like that. So I just use it with everyday things to talk about what it is I like. Because they say, for whatever reason, your readers want to know who you are. Well, I have a heart for special needs kids, and there's a story on my blog called "The Summer of Juan and Pedro." I encourage everybody to read about two little boys with a medical condition, and they really birthed in me the love of special needs children. And I volunteer once a week at a school for that. But I say all that to say this: just write what you know, write what you feel, and it may not be all that fancy or all that great, but your readers will appreciate knowing you.
There you go. It's all about authenticity. And one of the nicest compliments some people will tell that I get, here's me again, sorry. But every now and then somebody will come up sheepishly and say, when I was reading your book, because they would hear me give a seminar or something, it was like you were standing next to me. And they almost look apologetic. I'm like, that's the nicest thing you could say because
It
I
is.
really do. I don't want people to go, who's that guy? I was reading this book. No, it should be in our voice and our tone, the way we
Yes.
speak. Now, we might write about something more challenging and difficult, but it would still be that's what I look like when I'm panicked. That's what, but
Yeah,
this is me. It really is me.
no,
And I'm quite sure when I read your books, there really are you. Give me that website again and that email address.
Okay, it's Diana McDonough, McDonough.com. And then the email is Diane, Dian, no E or A, Dian Writes, WRITES at Yahoo.
Yeah. And I think, folks, you should go to that site because you're getting an author here, and we don't get them all the time, that we probably spend as much time on the marketing side of this as we did on the creation side. And that's because we have an author that, by golly, by gosh, and I get to look at her. You're not seeing. She's not smiling a lot while she's talking about the marketing, but it's part of what we do. And that's a grind too, but great ideas there. This is an author you might want to reach out to, maybe for some ideas and just to connect. So I wish you nothing but luck with all your books, and love the way you're doing it. It was really, truly a pleasure getting to know you today. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, Rob. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Well, we'll do it again as well as we can next time, everybody. Until then, stay safe.